Hello, everybody. Welcome back to my channel. This is Becca with Eating Your Heart with Becca. How you doing? Today, for Mystery Murder Mukbang Monday, I have a good story to tell you. It's about Harold Shipman. Harold Shipman. But first, let's get to praying. Lord Jesus, thank you, Lord, for this food. Bless this to my body and me to your service. In your name I pray, amen. I made the spicy creamy carbonara noodles and some sausages to go with it, so it'd be enough food. Anyways, and because of the spice, I have almond milk, the whole thing, ready for my disposal. Anyways, okay. All right. Are you ready? I'm going to use my chopsticks too. I have a fork just in case I give up. All right. Harold Shipman. Born January 14th, 1946, in Nottingham, England. Was born the middle child. Born into a family of being the middle child. His family was a hard-working, middle-class family. His full name is Harold Frederick Shipman, also known to everybody that knows him as Fred. He was held as the favorable child to his mother, Vera. Vera was a very domineering parent who installed in him at a very, very young age a sense of superiority, like, oh, you're so great, you're so wonderful, okay. That's not actually a good thing because he can become a narcissist, by the way. I'm just letting you know. At a very young age, a sense of superiority that tainted most of his relationships in later years, in the years to come, in his teenage and adult years. And because of the way he was raised and treated by his mother, he not only did it really make his relationships, having any kind of relationship, friendships, any kind of relationship, kind of difficult. He kept himself and basically lived an isolated life with the very few friends in his early adolescent years. On June 21st, 1963, his mother passed away due to lung cancer. Now, early on, when she was still alive, but still suffering, been diagnosed with the lung cancer, during her battle with it, he would willingly oversee to his mother's care as she was declining. When she would get medical treatments, like something for pain or whatever, I'm going to try to attempt, at least one of them lights up. I'm going to attempt to, why won't you grab? Haha. I did it. Oh my God. Spicy. Hold on. I need my milk. Holy crap. These are not going to stay on my plate. Stay on my plate. Booger. Shake, shake, shake. Shake, shake, shake. Shake your booty. Oh, yo. Oh my God. I'm the only one that drinks this, so. Oh my God. On June 21st, 1963, his mother passed away due to the lung cancer. Early on, during his mother's battle with lung cancer, he would willingly oversee to his mother's care as she was declining. The death of his mother gave him the determination he needed, to basically the desire and determination to go to a medical school, to pursue being a medical doctor. So 2 years later, he got enrolled and admitted to Leeds University Medical School for training. Okay. 19 years of age and still very much of a loner. He met then his future wife, Primrose, who was only 17 and he was 19. Okay. They were dating for a few months, and during those few months of dating, he got his 17-year-old girlfriend knocked up, prego, unfortunately, with his ego. Poor children. So they got pregnant with baby number 1. And then they got married. So when they got married, he was 19. Oh no. And she was 17. Okay. Now, I don't know how to eat these. Oh, come on. Seriously. How do I use these? I'm going to learn. So by 1974, he and his wife were blessed with then another child. 2 children. So they were blessed with 2 children by that time. And he then joined a medical practice in Todmorden, Yorkshire, where he thrived as a medical practitioner. He was thriving. He was earning good living to support him. I need to get something for my nose, because guess what? It's spicy. Guess what? I found, or she bought more of this. So, my nose is running, so sorry. Okay. He was thriving. Now, eventually, though, what happened while he was thriving in the medical business, he became addicted to painkillers. Pethidine. While on his addiction, he forged prescriptions for large amounts of the drug. So he was thriving, he was making lots and lots of money, and he started taking a painkiller that he got addicted to. That he became horribly addicted to. And he would then, to get more of the drugs, he would forge prescriptions for large amounts of the drug. But soon afterwards, he got caught by some of his peers. And they basically released him of his job there, and he had to leave in 1975. After he was forced out, he entered in a drug rehab program. In the subsequent inquiry, he only received a small fine and a conviction for forgery. So he didn't get punished for what he did. Like, he really didn't pay the piper. Like, it was like basically a little slap on the wrist, basically. Which I think he should have gotten more than that. He should have never been allowed to practice any more medicine. Oh, so good. But so spicy. See, it picks up this crap good. The sausages. Mm. And then, yeah, so a few years later, Harold Shipman was accepted as one of the staff of Donnybrook Medical Center in Hyde, where he ingratiated himself as a hardworking doctor who took great pride in the trust that his patients had for him and taking care of them, and his colleagues alike. Among his junior staff, he was noted to have an arrogant personality. He was kind of arrogant. He was with that staff for about 2 decades. After 2 decades of treating patients, Mr. Shipman's patients started to die at a rapid rate. See where this is going. I see. I definitely see where this is going. Come on, sausages, get in my belly. At a rapid pace and a very high rate. Now, the local undertaker very soon started to take notice on that. That, all these deaths, they were the patients of Dr. Shipman. The deaths of the patients exhibited similar death poses. Most of the victims, when found, were clothed and sitting upright or reclining at a settee, which is basically a couch. The undertaker became so concerned that, he made a mistake. If he was that concerned, don't go to the doctor. Go to the police. This is what he did. He went straight to the doctor. He went to the doctor with his concerns. And of course, what did Mr. Shipman do? He really assured him that there was nothing to be concerned about, that everything was okay. There was nothing to be worried about. Okay. Later on, another medical colleague, Dr. Susan Booth, also found this similarity of the deaths very disturbing, and the local coroner's office was alerted, who then contacted the police. Okay? Contacted the police. Oh my gosh. So good, but so spicy. A secret covert investigation was set in motion. But in the end, Mr. Shipman was cleared of it. Appeared that his records were in order. But it seemed like it was in order. But if the General Medical Council would have been conducted, and if they were to have done a criminal background check on him, they would have found out about his past criminal record. But they failed to do that. And so he basically was cleared everything. I know all you Korean people are like, oh my gosh, he stabbed the food. Sorry. Later on, a more thorough investigation revealed that Mr. Shipman altered the medical records of his patients to corroborate their causes of death. Due to his status as a caring family doctor, it was almost impossible to establish exactly when Dr. Shipman started killing off his patients and how many died at his hands, in his care. I mean, just think. What do you think about it for a minute? He's a doctor, and he's taking care of elderly patients, elderly people in their 80s on up. And these people and their families are trusting this guy to look after the well-being of the elderly person that they're related to. And he acts like such a caring doctor, and yet all these patients are dying in his care. His denial of the charges did nothing to assist the authorities in the investigation. His killing spree was brought to an end thanks to the determination of a woman by the name Angela Woodruff, the daughter of one of his victims, who refused to back down and accept the explanations that was given to her on her mother's death. Which, yeah, I would kill. Kathleen Grundy, the victim, was an active 81-year-old widow, found dead in her home on June 24th, 1998, following an early visit by Dr. Shipman himself. Woodruff was advised by Shipman that an autopsy was not required. There was no need to, and Grundy was buried in accordance with her daughter's wishes. Kathleen's daughter, Mrs. Woodruff, was a lawyer and was the one who always would handle her mother's financial affairs, you know? And it came as a shock to her when she discovered that you know, in her will, there was like another will on top of another one or something like that, that left most of the bulk of her money, of her funds, to guess who? Dr. Shipman. Like, why? Like, that does not make sense. He is not family. He's a doctor. He's not family. And why would you leave your millions of dollars, or I assume you're wealthy, millions of dollars to your doctor? What about your children and your grandchildren and your great-grandchildren? The ones that have known you way longer than the doctor. That doesn't make sense. And that didn't make sense to her either. Now, convinced it was forged and Shipman had murdered her mother, forging her mother's will in order to give to her, to basically gain profit off her death, she then called the local police, where Detective Superintendent Bernard, I do not know my own language. Ooh. uh, Bernard Postilles, you know what, I can't read my own handwriting, I apologize, quickly came to the exact same conclusion upon examining the evidence. Postils. You know what? My handwriting is bad. I cannot read my own handwriting. They exhumed Grundy's body post-mortem, revealed that she had died of a morphine overdose. It had been administered within 3 hours of her death, precisely within the time frame of Dr. Shipman's visit to her. The police raided and searched Dr. Shipman's home. What was found was medical records, a suspicious collection of jewelry, an old typewriter, which later proved to have been used to forge Grundy's will. It became immediately apparent to the police from the medical records sieged that they sieged that the case would extend a lot further than the the death that was, than her death that was in question. Priority was given to those deaths it would be most productive to the investigation, named just the victims who had not been cremated. So they only named and they only investigated the deaths that were not cremated. Because after you get cremated, it's pretty much impossible for you to exhume and find out exactly what happened to the person, how the person really died, once the person basically is cremated. So the ones that were not cremated, they were investigated, they were exhumed, they were, So it was just the victim who had not been cremated and who had died following the house visit by the doctor. The police established later on that Shipman, in most cases, did his best to, after the medical notes directly, to alter the medical notes directly after he would, commit each murder. He wanted to make sure that his accounts matched the historical records of his clients. He made the mistake Shipman made. The mistake Shipman made was not being able to grasp at the idea about each of the alterations was time-stamped. It was actually time-stamped. So, yes, they were time-stamped by the computer, which ended up enabling the police to ascertain exactly when records had been altered. What records had been altered. Extensive investigations followed by numerous exhumations and autopsies. The police arrested and charged Mr. Shipman with 15 counts, individual accounts of murder on September 7th, 1998, as well as forgery. Wow. Let me take more bites, please. I am hungry. I'm so hungry. All right. I know I'm not holding this right. Why did I do that? Why? Rebecca, you have napkins. Don't use the bag of pan. Oh, myself what to do. I'm so bossy. Oh, come on. Sorry. You can't even see the food very good. There. Okay. On October 5th, 1999, Shipman's trial started at the Preston Crown Court. The prosecution asserted that Shipman had killed the 15 patients because he enjoyed having control over the life and death of his patients. They dismissed the claims that he had been acting compassionately, as to none of his victims suffered with any illnesses. None of his patients suffered with any illnesses. I mean, I can understand if his patients were suffering so bad that they were like, please end me. Just please end my life. I'm miserable. Please help me. And he did it because of that, but no, none of them had illnesses. So Woodruff was the first witness of the case to testify on stand. Her manner was forthright in the account of her unremitted determination to get to the truth, which impressed the jury very much. Her determination to get to the bottom of the truth of what happened to these patients, everybody. Shipman's defense team did their best to undermine her and what her accounts and everything, but they were largely unsuccessful. The court was led by the government pathologist. The gruesome and post-mortem findings, where morphine toxicity was the cause of death in most instances. The instances. Fingerprint analysis of the forged will showed the jury that Grundy had never handled the will, so the court dismissed her signature by a handwriting expert. It was a crude forgery. It was a forgery. Okay. Now, police computer analysis testified how Shipman had altered his computer records to create systems that his dead patients never had. Symptoms that his patients never had. And in most cases, within hours of their deaths. They didn't even have it. What he put on there, the symptoms that they had in hours of their death, they didn't even have it. It was a lie. They didn't have any of those going on, any illnesses going on, even up to their death. At the trial, as the trial progressed onto other victims and the accounts accounts of their family members, the pattern of Mr. Shipman's behavior became much clearer to everybody. Mr. Shipman lacked true compassion and disregard for the wishes of the attending relatives, and reluctance to attempt to revive patients were bad enough. But another fraud came to light. Mr. Shipman would pretend to call the emergency services when he was in the presence of the victim's relatives. Then he would cancel the calls out once the patient was discovered dead. was pronounced dead. The telephone records showed that Mr. Shipman never actually placed any emergency calls. He was pretending. Man, he just wanted to make sure that they died, that they were dead, before anybody was called. I think I'm getting good at this now. The one thing I need to work on is my handwriting. Police gathered up evidence of his drug hoarding, false prescribing morphine to patients who did not even need the drug. They didn't even need the drug. He was giving patients the drug that didn't even need it. And then also police found out that he would overprescribe morphine to patients who did need it, the morphine. Mr. Shipman would make visits to the patients' homes to collect up unused supplies for disposal. It's like more like evidence. You want to get rid of the evidence. Throughout Mr. Shipman's trial, he had a haughty demeanor, which did absolutely nothing to assist him in his defense. That would show the people of the court a visual picture of a man dedicated his life for the health and well-being of those that he took care of. They didn't see that. Despite all their attempts in trying to paint their defendant as a caring medical doctor, Mr. Shipman's arrogance in constantly changing his stories and then caught and called out for lying, all this did nothing to endear him to the jury. They were like, oh, he's a monster. They were like, oh, he's a monster. He's guilty. He's going to jail. Shipman was found guilty on all 15 counts of murder and one of forgery on the afternoon of January 31st, 2000. The judge gave him 15 life sentences, as well as a 4-year sentence for forgery. So he basically got a whole life sentence and effectively removed any possibility of parole was effectively removed. He was then sent to Durham prison. Okay, so during this whole trial and everything, shudders of horror went straight through the spines of individuals in the medical community. Further investigations delivered more deeply into his patient list history. A clinical and conducted in what the heck? A professor by the name Richard Baker of the University of Leicester did an examination of the number pattern of deaths in Shipman's practice and compared them to the rates of deaths amongst his elderly patients. He was there for most of his patients when they died, by the way. Just want to let you know. Mr. Shipman may have been responsible for the deaths of at least 236 patients over a 24-year period. That's what was conducted. An inquiry commission chaired by High Court Judge Dame Janet Smith, who examined 500 patient records, who died while in the care of Dr. Shipman. It was 2,000 pages long. Reports showed or concluded that most likely he had at least murdered 218 of his patients. And even though it was just an estimation, it was just only an estimation, he probably killed a lot more. There were certain cases that did not present sufficient evidence that would allow for certainty that, or the amount of people he murdered. I cannot read my hand. I'm so sorry. Commission further speculated that Dr. Shipman was addicted to killing. They conducted that he was addicted to killing. Police investigation procedure was very critical. There was a lack of experienced officers when it came to them knowing how to do an investigation of the crime. That resulted in basically multiple mistakes, missed opportunities. Missed opportunities to bring Dr. Shipman to justice a lot earlier than they did. There is a chance that just in months of him getting his license, his first kill was 67-year-old Margaret Thompson, who sadly died in March of 1971. She was recovering from a stroke. Any deaths prior to 1975 were never clinically proven. So he's been killing for a very long time. Oh my gosh. Remind me not to eat anything spicy while I'm trying to tell a story. And remind me to, be better at my handwriting so I can read it. Oh my gosh. The exact number is unknown of the sheer scale of the murderous activities. Means that Shipman was capitulated from British patient. He was actually capitulated Britain's patient from British patient killer to the most prolific known serial killer in the entire world. My gosh. Throughout the entire investigation, Dr. Shipman was sent and remained at Durham prison, where he continued to maintain his innocence. Even his wife and family continued to support him and defend him. They defended him. He was later moved to Wakefield prison in June 2003, making visits by his family a lot easier to have. Shipman died on January 13th, 2004. He was discovered hanging in his cell. Some speculate that he was murdered, and some just think it was just a plain suicide. The mystery is that after his death, the whereabouts of his remains remains a mystery. What happened to his remains after he hung himself is a mystery. Either way, the absence of his body delays any further tests in the murders. Of the murders. Something that his body was still somewhere in a morgue, in one of the hospitals in the morgue. And some speculate that his family, his wife, took his body and kept his body hidden somewhere so they could not further do anything with his body, like investigate. So yeah, his body, who knows where his body is? I mean, yeah, who knows where his body is? They don't know. Nobody knows. So, yes, that is today's story. I am very sorry that I could not read my own handwriting and that I was messing up the words. Please forgive me. I will do better. Let's talk about it a little bit. I mean, it makes sense. None of his patients suffered with any of the illnesses that he said that they suffered with. It definitely was never the cause of their death. So, him giving them morphine, they didn't even need it. But those that did need it, he overdosed them. He overgave it to them. And then put down that, they suffered with this and that, and they didn't even suffer with it. So that's how they figured that he killed for pure satisfaction. What do you think? Seriously, work with me here. Oh my gosh. Like, seriously. I mean, it kind of makes me scared to even trusting doctors these days. Any of them. It's so delicious, but it's so spicy. And I don't understand why everything has to get so cold so easily and so quickly. Oh my god. I'm holding it up because that thing is doing a horrible job. My water from the background. Like, what do you think? Oh gosh. Medical field these days. I don't know if you can trust any of them. I mean, just picture it. You have an elderly mother or grandmother. And you're trying to take care of them as best as you can. Look after them. And they're being taken care of by a doctor that actually is killing them and taking their lives. And you don't even know it. Okay, I'm going to use this now. These are little. I'm sorry for the scraping of the fork. Anyways, comment down below what you thought about that story. Harold Shipman. That was a messed up thing that he did. I mean, forging everything and lying about what they suffered with and everything, and get away with. He definitely thought he could get away with murder. He liked to kill. He liked being in control of people's lives. Wow. Makes me never want to trust another doctor ever again. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you for subscribing. If you haven't yet subscribed, please do so. And yes, the next time I will make sure I'm able to read my handwriting. I apologize. Anyways, thank you for joining me. I love you. Bye.